Hello, and welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly program where Masons from around the world get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. The standard disclaimer applies. The thoughts and opinions expressed here are solely the opinions of the participants and do not represent any Grand Lodge statements or positions. Make sure you keep your conversations open for the public and on the level. To interact with us, send questions and comments to our Twitter page at Mason Roundtable or on the Facebook event page for episode 189. I'm thankful for. All right, we'll find out. You know me, John Ruark, past master of the Patriot Lodge, number 1957, in good old Fairfax, Virginia. Robert Johnson.
Hey, everybody. Robert Johnson, Waukegan Lodge number 78, Waukegan, Illinois, past master and current sitting secretary. Thanks.
Thank you, Robert. Mike the intern.
So, Mike the intern here, member of Triandria Lodge number 780, and I'm the current junior steward and lodge education officer.
Woohoo!
And that's in Rock Creek, Ohio.
Rock on. Juan Sepulveda.
Hello, everybody. Juan Sepulveda here from Orange Blossom Lodge number 80 in Kissimmee, Florida, and the host of the Winding Stairs Freemasonry podcast. Good evening, brothers.
Thank you, Juan. And last but not least, with days to go, worshipful Jason Richards.
Hey, everybody. Jason Richards here. Almost past master of Acacia Lodge number 16 in Clifton, Virginia. I have 20 days left, but who's counting?
Yes.
And member of the Colonial Lodge number 1821 in Washington, D.C.
Excellent. All right. Thank you very much, guys. We have a full house tonight. Good to see. For our sponsor this week, as a reminder, this week's episode is sponsored by the worshipful brother Ryan J. Flynn, Masonic artist and patent designer out of New Hampshire. Since 2010, Brother Flynn has been using a variety of mediums to capture beautiful Masonic architecture, people, medieval style patents, and other Masonic works of art. Brother Ryan is available to do custom commissioned works for Masons and Masonic lodges. If you are interested in commissioning a piece with Brother Ryan, contact him at ryanjflynn, FLYNN.com, or visit his website at www.ryanjflynn.com. And stay tuned because he will be updating his website very shortly, but here's a little sneak preview of the current site. I've actually seen him work on some of these in pieces that Brother Ryan and I have run into each other in different Masonic events. I think the first one was the Masonic Restoration Foundation when they had their meeting up in Philadelphia. And just you really have to see these things to believe it. He's a very talented artist, and he's been helping out the show. So as of note, he did provide the patent for the 300 celebration that we had back in June. And so pretty soon we'll have that up for everyone to see. Anything else you guys want to add? Go check out his website. It's awesome. Okay. Moving on to Masonic news. We have our third week in November. So that means No Shave November is in full effect. If you want to go check out the stats, here are our numbers. We've reached $575 toward our goal of $2,500. And as we mentioned last week, that
it's actually $600, including the brother who sent $25 to us via PayPal instead of the site.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that gets cut over there. And as a reminder, we've sweetened the pot as well. Even though this is for a good cause and virtue is its own reward, it's nice to get stuff too. So for those who have the highest donation to the team as a whole, what will they get? Jason, what will they get?
They will get their very own custom hand-painted apron from Ashler Aprons and Brother Dave Bacon. So if at the end of this month, you got like 9 days left, if at the end of this month you have provided the most money to support us as a whole, I mean, it doesn't depend who you put it on. It's just the most money donated to this campaign. You will be hooked up with a completely free, all costs included, custom Masonic apron. and they're absolutely incredible. And I mean, it's easily a $350 deal.
Yeah, see, Brother Bacon dropped that on us live on the show. Caught me completely off guard. And just for any of you who've done your research into, again, painted Masonic aprons, you know that is a steal. And I know Brother Juan can attest to that as well.
Yes, I can. That's the best deal you're gonna get right now.
Yeah, he's doing mine, and it wasn't free.
You should have donated. Brother Juan's going to be tossing in a couple mystery items as well.
Yep. For the brother that donates the most to me so far, someone has it on lockdown. This brother's gonna get some real nice stuff. So if you want to jump ahead, go to noshave.org, right?
Correct.
It's /teams/TMR.
You got it.
And find the one that says Juan Sepulveda. Click on that one. Highest bidder is gonna get hooked up.
So I sense a fix already because you currently have the highest bid, and I'm smelling a scam right here.
Oh.
So for those of you who don't want to try to outbid everybody else, anybody who donates a minimum of $25 to me in my name as part of this campaign is going to get hooked up with some of our original Masonic Roundtable lapel pins. So I'll send them out to you with a handwritten thank you note. And that's for anyone who donates $25 or more. So far, I've had 2 brethren do that in my name. So I'm looking to have a couple more. I've peeling back the couch cushions to find these things. So they're some of the very last original mint pins that we actually have.
They're not being made anymore, so that's awesome.
No.
Yep. Yeah, it's hard for I have one of each, barely.
Yeah, no, that's just, we started off with a decent amount in reserve, but now literally I'm down to like my last literal handful.
Very cool. I know a couple of the other brothers here are going to be chipping in something special as well.
Yeah, and if you the highest donor on me, you get a complete set of Carl Claudy's Introduction to Freemasonry.
Sweet.
Love it. All right. Cool. I know we could go down the line, but okay, Robert, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah. So I offered, I think the last time I was on, the highest donator for that span of the week was going to get this teapot. So that teapot went out, but if you continue to donate anything to my name as well, I certainly will find something amazing to send to you that will be cool. I promise.
That longboard. Just kidding.
Yep. And because I love my skull so much, it's hard for me to part with them.
A lock of RJ's hair.
Yes.
So you can clone your own little Robert Johnson.
It's thin, so yeah.
I'll be tossing in a screen used skull over here. So and a couple extra little items as well. So that's a sweet deal. Help us out.
Not viewer's choice.
Viewer's choice, despite Jason trying to throw that in there. So now you've already like sold RJ's longboard, my expensive skulls.
Yeah.
It's John will pitch in his own skull.
Yes.
You gotta wait a few years.
Yeah, a couple of years, but
all right, very cool. I think you could tell we're having fun with this, and we want this is just a good idea to have a good time and be charitable, which is what we do. Next up, we have a huge announcement, one that RJ has been waiting for forever.
I have.
Because it seemed like every other week on Robert's Facebook page was, hey, I'm still waiting for that big NMJ reveal. Well, it finally got revealed last week, where the Scottish Rite Northern Masonic jurisdiction has announced a brand new educational program called the
Au grade académie.
right. And so as part of the
Au grade académie.
it will be an online platform, a learning educational system that has been built by a couple of good Northern Masonic jurisdiction brothers here to specifically focus on the 29 degrees worked in the Northern Masonic jurisdiction of the Scottish Rite. It is a course available to all 32nd degree Scottish Rite Northern Masonic jurisdiction Masons in good standing for free of charge, with both offline and online offerings. You can see the breakout there. They have different levels, and it looks like they have, the ritual of all 29 Scottish Rite Northern Masonic jurisdiction degrees. Level 2 is an essay portion, and then level 3 is a written research paper on candidate's choice, which will be approved by some committee. And go from there.
So wait,
they have
three distinct levels, but it looks like it's all just the same program. Like level 1 seems to be kind of the short answer, multiple choice. Level 2 is like essays, and then level 3 is a research paper.
Yeah, so that differs from the Master Craftsman program, right? I mean, Master Craftsman, right. It's been flip-flopped. There's some difference now, but yeah. So Northern jurisdiction has those. Southern is the first part. Mikey, correct me if I'm wrong. Starts with Esoterica.
Right. Yeah, you use the book Esoterica, and it's the Symbolic Lodge.
According to the Scottish Rite Symbolic Lodge, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so it's the degrees that we don't know largely. And then the second part is Scottish Rite 29 degrees, which deals with the Albert Pike rituals. And the third part is the philosophy part, which I think it didn't, it replaced part 2 back in the day, but I think it's basically part 2. I couldn't tell you. I turned in my part 2 the other day, my first quiz of part 2, and they sent me the next one. So I don't know.
Go at your own pace.
Yeah.
We're fans of education, obviously, Masonic education. It's something that has been, we think it's probably a good direction to move toward for specifically, the Scottish Rite as well. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to get this in time for Christmas. So it looks like it's not going to be officially launched until spring of 2018. Spring. That's forever.
Yeah, it is forever. It's going to take a while to come out. I think, though, it'll be worth it, especially for those Northern jurisdiction members who desperately crave education, as many of us do. It came down for me. I essentially left the Northern jurisdiction because I didn't want to pay dues in 2 places and only really get what I was after from one of them, if that makes sense. So I went with the Southern jurisdiction because I like the education, Master Craftsman program, the Scottish Rite Research Society, all those books that have been put out. That said, the Northern jurisdiction has done some pretty incredible things of late, and I'm going to put my foot in my mouth, and I'll tell you guys that Franken manuscript that the NMJ released, that facsimile reprint, is off the chain awesome. It is not like what you might think. It's actually the genesis of all the Scottish Rite degrees. So Southern or Northern, it started with this book, essentially. I mean, as far back as that year. There was an earlier piece, too, but that's Lodge of Perfection French stuff.
Very cool. So if you want to learn more, stay tuned to the website of the
Au grade académie.
By checking out our website or on the Northern Masonic Jurisdiction website and Facebook page. Great. Okay, let's get into this week's topic, and it's about thanks. Here we are recording this the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, or Thanksgiving Eve, and I wanted to kind of get us all into that mindset of being thankful by picking one of the symbols of Freemasonry that is kind of, you really don't hear a lot about, unless you are a steward in my jurisdiction, which is the symbol of the cornucopia. So just I'm going to read a little bit here to kind of prime the pump. The cornucopia is obviously the horn of plenty. The old pagan myth tells us that Zeus was nourished during his infancy in Crete by the daughters of Melissus with the milk of the goat with the name of Almathea. The future king of the gods had unusual abilities and strength, and in playing with his nursemaid, accidentally broke off one of her horns, which then had the divine power to provide unending nourishment. Just keeps coming and coming, as the foster mother had to the god. So therefore, it is a symbol of abundance, and as such has been adopted as the jewel of the stewards of a lodge, to remind them that it is their duty to see that the tables are properly furnished at refreshment and that every brother is suitably served. Among the deities whose images are to be found in the ancient temples at Elora is the goddess Annapurna, whose name is compounded of Anna, signifying corn, and Puma, meaning plenty. Plenty of corn. She holds a corn measure in her hand, and the whole, therefore, has the same illusion as the Masonic horn of plenty. I think that's kind of neat. That's one of those things in my early education days of being steward of the lodge, hopping in the kitchen, making the meals. I asked, why do they stewards wear cornucopia? And I never got a good answer. So I went and looked it up myself and got a very similar bit of trivia there. So I hope you enjoyed that. So being thankful with all that we have been given, I want to go around in no particular order and just let each host wax poetic on something specifically they are thankful for, in particular, of the craft as we know and love it. So I'm going to start with the very eloquent and, may I say, handsome Juan Sepulveda.
Muchas gracias. Well, one of the things that I'm very grateful for in Masonry, it's the very nature of the organization, that its intention is to take something that is good, albeit imperfect, and put it through a process that allows it to gain perfection as it moves through. And the fact that that is my natural tendency, that is how I've always lived my life, recognizing that I am faulty, that I have flaws, that I have imperfections, but having that deep-rooted desire that I want to become better and that I want to do so in a methodical way, in a way that gives me a chance to see progression and have sustainable change. That goes hand in hand with the fact that I feel grateful that I'm not alone in this journey, that when I decided to knock on the door and found worthy and well qualified, that what awaited inside was a group of men who are in the same situation, imperfect in their own way, with their own intrinsic differences, and yet they are all part of this whole edifice, this whole experience. So I'm grateful that that's the nature of our fraternity and that I'm a part of it.
So you like this whole self-exploration, discovery, working through the mysteries of life together.
Absolutely.
Go up the hill together, huh?
Absolutely. And finding there's that constant reminder that you are imperfect. I think there's something very important about that, because we can get we can get fooled by the progress that we make, and we need to be able to compare and contrast and see the difference of us a year ago and where we are now, and seeing other people going through a similar journey and seeing where you are in comparison to them, and be inspired by their progress, and perhaps be humbled by any kind of flaw that they might have. So I think it's the right environment, and if we do it right, I think it's fertile ground for us to grow and to our fullest potential.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. If we do it right.
If you do it right. You got to put in the work, right? Very cool. All right, Robert, what say you? What are you thankful for out of this fraternity?
I'm thankful for patience. There have been a great number of gentlemen who have shown me great patience over the years when it came to learning the craft, learning the not just the rituals and the lectures. Look, there are plenty of times that we have critiqued the delivery of poor ritual. And I have been that guy who's delivered poor ritual plenty of times. It happens, right? I am very thankful that nobody yelled at me about it. I'm thankful that people worked with me to help me do it correctly and to get past any, stage frights that I've had. I'm thankful for those candidates who didn't bat an eye and totally understood like all that we put into the degree work. Very thankful for a lot of the patients that's come from the Grand Lodge of the state of Illinois. There have been many times where I've been, I'll say, quote unquote, in hot water. And they have not ever really done anything like, I guess, to punish me per se. But they've tutored me, they've taken me under the wing and showed me, a lot of the better, more, I'll say, I'm not going to say, I don't want to say political ways of handling things, but just being more sensitive to, other people's feelings and how those people feel the craft should be. And and I've always been very rigid in my stance on the fraternity being an educational experience, a wisdom school. And I still feel that way every day. But I do acknowledge the fact that an organization changes over time, and I can appreciate that. And I'm thankful for that because without that change, we never would have made that switch into, I guess, an enlightened philosophy, even though I think we've departed from that a bit. We never would have had that original departure that took us into this philosophical realm. So I'm thankful that we are ever changing. I'm thankful for everybody right now, all of the people joining right now, whether you call yourselves millennials, zennials, Gen Xers, baby boomers, hipsters, like whatever, I don't care. Like, I'm glad you're coming into the fraternity. I'm thankful for you for making this big leap into doing something that's completely life-changing and that's going to take up way more of your time than you think. I'm thankful that you guys all stick with it. And essentially, the reason why I'm thankful, it's not because it makes it easier on John when he goes to lodge and doesn't have to sit in as senior deacon. It's not because when Juan goes to lodge, he's got to sit in and do a chaplain's part, or I have to sit in and be a secretary. I'm thankful because when you guys go and you go to lodge, Eric Diamond said on the show, just go to lodge. And that always stuck with me. I'm thankful for you guys who just go to lodge because you're perpetuating the fraternity. And that means way more to me than anything else, because all I want is for our art to be able to be experienced by future generations, whether that be men, women, men and women. It doesn't matter to me. I feel like, our art is there. It's something to be shared and to, span the generations. So I'm thankful for everybody who continues to push the mystic art, not the mythic art, the mystic art. Yeah.
Don't mystic arts naturally have to contain mythic arts as well?
I mean, I guess so.
I
was kind of making a small dig at
if we look at mythos as
the NMJ website,
being historical stories that have supernatural connotations.
Not always.
Or if you're Mike Tyson, it's the
Is what?
mythic. Merry
One and
Christmas.
the same. One and the same.
Oh god.
Too easy.
You're starting to sound like Roger.
Oh no.
No, but I wanted to say about what RJ said. I really appreciate that, because if you look at the current climate in our society, we're all doing our little thing to try to contribute to it, but some people just really don't care. Some people are just like, they are ready to just sever ties with anyone who has a difference of opinion, anyone who was raised differently, anyone who worships in the wrong direction. It's so negatively charged, and for us to have the privilege to receive this wisdom of the ages and be good stewards of it, and serve as vessels that pass it along to the future, I think that's a big responsibility and a great privilege. And sometimes I lose track of that. Sometimes I focus on other things and don't realize how fortunate I am to be given the opportunity to play that role while I'm here for the amount of time I will be here.
Just to interject, I was having a conversation with not a brother over lunch today, and we were talking about how by human nature we are destined for tribalism, in the sense of throughout the history of time we've formed very close societies where you knew everybody because you were geographically centered. You had shared common values, common goals for the group, right? It was kind of it took the village to raise the child. And Masonry is really the only thing I can think of. I mean, I'm sure that other things like joining the military, right, where you have a common shared experience that way, that you can see someone who is in the same service as you, and you can instantly have that bond. But outside of that, Freemasonry is the one system of morality that can have a shared common initiatic experience and form tribes where tribes would have never done, right? And we've some jurisdictions use like of those who would have remained at a perpetual distance, right? But now we have this common experience, so that's it's a pretty cool thing that we've got.
Yeah, and there's another benefit to it too. I was listening to this was a conversation between a priest and an atheist, and they invited this atheist, a very prominent atheist, by the way, to his church. So it was in the church, the pastor and this famous atheist having a discussion about where is the common ground between the two of them, where do their opinions diverge. And one of the things that I heard the atheist say, and it hit home. He said many people wish to have these passages, what do you call those, rites of passages or milestone celebrations in their lives, but they don't necessarily want them to be attached to any particular mythology or any particular dogma or any particular, no strings attached to anything beyond what this union is, the human. And it really made me think a lot, because yes, you have in Judaism, you have the bar mitzvahs and the other religions, you have different things, and they still separate. You have the people from one religion doing this, the other people from the different religion doing another thing. But in Freemasonry, it doesn't matter what it is. You have this rite of passage of taking a man from one step to the other, and it doesn't matter what he believes or if he even believes in anything. I mean, asterisk, he has to believe in something, but I like the fact that it kind of crosses all those boundaries and all those ¿cómo se dice en fronteras? Frontiers. Yeah.
Very cool. All right, let's move on to our next host, Mike the intern. What say you? What do you like about the fraternity vows? What are you thankful for?
Yeah. What I'm thankful for, well, first thing is you guys, to be honest. Without you guys, I wouldn't be sitting here on Tuesday nights talking.
Probably still be sitting there on Tuesday nights. He just
Yeah, yeah. Watching something else on Netflix.
great. We're competing with Netflix too.
Yeah, no. But no, then I'm also thankful for some of the mentors I've recently have developed because of the way that they've been able to help move me along and help me get situated in a new lodge that's actually going to help me move forward. I'm also thankful for the wife that I have that absolutely loves the fact that I'm in Masonry and allows me to do this without, I mean, if I'm there for the second week of every month, I'm literally gone the whole week, and she has no problem with it because she's actually off doing her thing too. So
That's essential. That's great. I mean, I'm really happy for you guys that it works out that way.
Yeah. And I'm thankful for the new brothers in the lodge that I'm actually a part of now. So
Congrats again.
thank you. Yeah. So that's kind of about where I'm at.
All right. Jason Richards, what are you thankful for?
All right. First and foremost, as a part of TMR, I'm really thankful for every single person who writes in and gives us some sort of feedback, whether it's good, bad, indifferent. I got a great piece of feedback from a brother up in Ohio last night and this morning. And it's just, those, we read all the comments. We read all of the notes that you all send us. We aren't really good at replying to emails, but we're doing the best that we can. But we read each and every one of them. And sometimes your feedback really, personally kind of gets me in the right mood and the mindset for doing the show, especially being up late on a work night with a baby at home. It's getting harder and harder to stay up until 11:30 midnight on Tuesday nights doing the Masonic Roundtable. And the feedback that we get and the thanks that we get from the brothers who and non-Masons who watch and really appreciate what we bring to the table is just just amazing, and makes all the time and the energy spent away from family just really worth it. So for our fans and for everybody who's written in and sent notes, like that's what I am really, really thankful for as a part of TMR. We appreciate your feedback and we read every single bit of it. As far as this fraternity goes, I'm really thankful for good leadership. In my particular case, I had a fantastic district deputy grandmaster this year, who just made my life as worshipful master a lot easier than it could have been, especially as I was, grappling with Grand Lodge and some other parties on certain things this year. So I'm very, very thankful that in this fraternity we have these little sparks of amazing leaders who are recognized as such and put into leadership positions because they care about each other, they care about their constituents, and they care about the craft in general. And my district deputy, Ray Solomon really embodied that to the core. And so it's wonderful. It's easy to point at places where leadership isn't as strong, and we take issues with bad leadership, whether it be Arkansas or other places. But I think it's doubly important that we call out and recognize those leaders who are making a difference and who are just incredible kind of beacons of light for the fraternity, whether it be Ray Solomon or like Roman Volsky, who is a Grand Master of Masons in DC. Just two wonderful leaders who I think are doing amazing things for Masonry and the fraternity. So thankful for the fans, thankful for the good leaders that we have in this fraternity. Thankful for Masonry in general, just giving me an unending source of things to study. It's my Masonry has really piqued my curiosity on things that I never thought I'd ever be interested in studying. And there's so much packed into Masonic tenets, philosophy. It's why we're able to do this show, 4.5 years running, and we haven't really revisited too many episodes because there's so much about Masonry you can explore and study and talk about. And that's one of the things that I'm very, very thankful for, because I am an innately curious person, and Masonry gives me a whole wealth of research rabbit holes to go down to sate that curiosity. And that's something that I haven't found anywhere else. And finally, I'm very thankful for the open-mindedness of brethren in our fraternity. I came from a very narrow-focused upbringing, especially when it came to religion. And the guys in the fraternity, especially the guys here on the Masonic Roundtable, have helped open my eyes a little bit, and helped me kind of just get a good sense for other worldviews and other ways of living your life, across the world. And I think this is an amazing fraternity that gives its members the opportunities to just experience life in the fullest and experience differing worldviews without conflict. Now, when we interject our own political and religious leanings into the fraternity, specifically with the intent to impose them on others, then we run into a lot of problems. However, in general, I don't think injecting politics and religion into conversation is necessarily a bad thing, especially when it comes to religion and spirituality and worldview, because I think there's something that we can all learn something from somebody. So I'm very, very thankful for the open-minded brethren that I know and continue to meet every day. I wish the entire fraternity was as open-minded as the guys here on the show, as a number of our fans are, just because I think this fraternity in this world would be a much better place if we are all were a lot more tolerant, asked a lot more questions instead of raising a lot more accusations. So that's what I've got.
That's great.
As far as what I'm thankful for.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. I guess it's my turn next. Thinking over this thing, I mean, the key essential point that I want to make is that I'm very thankful for the system of morality that we have, that's veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbols. The philosophies and the mystery schools that I've been exposed to after getting initiated, passed, and raised has been so much more than I ever thought imaginable. I mean, Jason touched on that once you're fully through the threshold of this door, there's so much behind there that you didn't even know existed. And it's left to every Mason to go and begin their journey all over again as soon as they get that third degree. But man, I've just learned so much more. So I've been exposed to so much, both in a religious context, philosophical context, historical context, that I would have never found any other way. And so that's been the thing that I'm personally most thankful for in this fraternity. And because of that, once we have, again, that tribal experience, that shared common experience, now I can have other nerds that I can talk to about these awesome, cool things that I found in the system of morality that we have, right? So I can't, it's both a blessing and a curse, right? Because you find this really cool thing, like, oh man, this cornucopia symbol is so awesome because it's like loaded with this symbolism and blah blah blah. And if I try to have that conversation with my wife, she's just gonna, yeah, that's great, that's cool. Go have fun with that, John. But I can nerd out with you guys here on the show, and just about any brother I run into in a lodge that I visit, both in my jurisdiction and outside of my jurisdiction, that you can have some of those deeper conversations with, right? That, okay, so it's not just, oh, this is a really cool thing, this is a cool historical symbol. Then peel the onion back even deeper, right? Take that philosophical aspect and say, so what does that mean for me? How do I apply that? As Juan said, how do I take that teaching, apply it to myself, right? So I can become a better moral person in my daily interactions with other people, and then learn from others as well. Hey, how are you dealing with this common struggle that we have? So that's been, an interesting piece that I didn't know was there, and I'm thankful for. And I alluded to the fact that visiting outside of jurisdiction comes with that we have this this global fraternity that you can go and travel around, and one, you're welcome as a brother, anywhere you go, and two, you can just pick right up and have those conversations there. You can you have this fraternal brotherly love, this mystic tie that binds across all the jurisdictions, all the states, all the countries. That is really, it's hard to explain if you haven't gone through it. So if you haven't joined yet, here's your wake up call, right? go to your local lodge and start asking questions. And I do want to circle back around to one thing that Robert said earlier. One of the first lessons as I was going through the process of vetting, as I was getting ready for my ballot, right before I even got my first degree in Masonry, was the whole lesson of patience. Holy smokes, did I submit my paperwork at the wrong time? I submitted my paperwork around this time, the year before I got initiated, which is a horrible year in the jurisdiction of the Grand Lodge of Virginia, because in November things are kind of winding down. They just had their Grand Lodge, and then early December is elections and installations of new officers, which means no degree work gets done at all in December. We're not even going to look at it until after the new year, because the new leadership's in. And so, man, just waiting anxiously over the holidays.
I can't imagine it, John, because I have to interject here. Yeah. First of all, where I come from, sometimes this happens, but very rarely, because lodges in Illinois have their annual meetings different times of the year. Elections of officers happens different times of the year. So there's not usually a time where
they get to pick.
Yeah.
No way. Oh.
Yeah. Like, so we do our installations. Well, we elect in November, we elect in October, install in November, and that begins the new year. And it's very similar with Grand Lodge. But other lodges will do their installation. It'll be like in April or March, whatever. So their year is different. So that doesn't typically happen. So what does happen is when we go dark for the summer, sometimes some lodges, not all, will go dark for 2 consecutive months. They can go dark for 2 months as long as they're consecutive. And I think it's any time during the year. But sometimes somebody will submit a petition and they'll have to wait. Then it'll get read when they come back, and then it's investigation. So another month. So it's like a 4-month thing. But really what drives me up a wall about your story is the fact that if you guys know John is the digital guy. So he is like, you want it, here it is. You want it, here it is.
Yeah.
Everything is now, and it's not because it's not this, this goofball, stupid mentality of like millennials or anything. It's
right.
This is the adoption of technology, the adoption of now. Like, we live in a world where information is freely available and things happen, and we don't use checks anymore because they take too long to clear. We use debit cards. And so that mentality just transcends all this stuff. And so if for you, I couldn't imagine like this waiting period. I would have been like, oh, screw this. I'm joining the Golden Dawn. Where's the cosmic initiation ritual? I'll do it myself.
You nailed it, right? It's not so much a millennial thing, but it is it's just the way that certain people of a generation that's been connected really needs to learn patience, and that was something that I had to learn the hard way, and it was a good lesson, but it certainly was something I was thankful for as well. To your point, Robert, that patience is a virtue, and one that Masonry has taught me. So that's it. That's my thankfulness regarding the philosophy and brotherhood that comes with that. So,
yeah, you sparked an idea on me, and of course, during this time of the season, we're talking a lot about gratitude and being thankful and being appreciative. And if I were to ask you, what would be the opposite of those three sentiments? What is the opposite of being grateful? What is the opposite of being thankful? What is the opposite of having gratitude? And I'll let you think about it for a few seconds, because the reason I asked the question and I wanted to sink in is because when you deprive yourself of those things, of being thankful and having gratitude, by consequence, you, to a degree, are employing the opposite feelings towards life, towards your job, towards your spouse, towards your friends, towards your organization. And it is important that we have or adopt a mentality of gratitude wherever we can, so that you're not so focused on what you're missing or what that other person is not giving you, and you can then value them for what they actually represent in your life and for what they actually contribute to your life. And what sparked that was your comment about the common struggle that some brothers might have, where they can't go to their spouse to talk about some of the nerdy stuff that we talk about. And it's not for lack of intelligence, it's not for lack of capabilities. They perhaps are not interested in this particular subject matter. Now, what I want to encourage the brothers that are watching or listening is that if you find yourself having this common struggle where you are perhaps going to your wife and trying to tell her about how awesome this meeting was because of this or the other, and you're not getting that response that you expected when you first approached, be very careful not to be resentful, not to do the opposite of being grateful, because you would be building a resentment or a negative feeling towards this individual for not giving you what you wrongly expected from them. So there's a few things you can do in order to, avoid this or solve this problem. Be very knowledgeable about what that individual is to you and what they provide to you. So in Spanish, we have an expression that says, no le pidas peras al olmo. So don't go to the elm tree and ask for pears. Like, that's not what that tree's role is. You go to that tree to get the fruit that it's intended to give you, and you're appreciative for it, and you're not resentful for the other kinds of fruit that it's not giving you. So, and I say this because it's a very important thing. It's one little thing that if you're conscious about, it's one thing less that you have to worry about in terms of putting Freemasonry and your family in the same box. And I'll give you a real example. Let's say you have, for example, you're excited about this philosophical concept that you've been exploring with some brothers, and you bring it to your wife. Maybe she's not interested in that. You realize, like, why did I even bring this up? This is not the kind of conversations that we have. Perhaps you steer the conversation in another direction, and then you find that individual that will reciprocate that kind of conversation. So maybe you pick up the phone and call that brother that's a geek about philosophy, or you go to lodge and sit with a brother who actually can, give it back, or perhaps repudiate it and start a very cool conversation. And then you can be grateful for the fact that that individual serves that purpose in your life. And you can be grateful that you're mindful that what you expected from someone erroneously, it's clear to you, and you're not going to tarnish your relationship with that individual because then they're not providing something you're erroneously expecting of them. So I hope that there's a brother out there that's listening to this, that he's hitting the steering wheel thinking, oh my God, that's so true, because she doesn't give a beep about when I tell her about this, and like I get super upset, like why can't she? No, you're expecting of her, and it's not necessarily her, it could be your friend or your spouse, whomever it is. You might be expecting the wrong things from that person and depriving yourself of feeling gratitude for the role that they play in your life. Period.
I love it. So, given the time frame, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the host, as they wrap things up, to go and consider the opposite of those things that you mentioned as part of their final thoughts. And so let's start with Mike the intern for your final thoughts, and specifically the opposite of being grateful, thankful, and having gratitude.
Well, the opposite of that would be thankless or ungrateful, and that's kind of what Juan was really just touching on a lot of there. Is you would end up you have that conversation with someone who is not interested in the conversation. Not that they don't have the intelligence to handle it, like you said, but they just don't want to hear it because they just don't have a feel for it. And yeah, you're going to feel, man, I'm trying to have this conversation with you, and you're just ungrateful that I'm talking to you, and no, that's wrong. They're not, and you're being ungracious in the concept, if you do that, for the fact that they even listened to you on that topic that, they weren't interested in, which, was, my wife would not want to hear this stuff. I mean, she's glad that I've got this and that I've got you guys and I've got the brothers at my lodge to talk about this stuff with. But man, when I walk in there and start talking to her, she's like, you're not really supposed to talk to me about that. She's like, I'm not interested. How about if I start telling you about how I train dogs? How about if we do that one? Yes, I decide to fall asleep on it. But yeah. So, but no, I'm, like I said, back to this again, I'm thankful that I've got all of you guys. I'm thankful about all the brothers in my lodge and the new mentors that I've met and been learning from now. Yeah, this has been one of the greatest journeys for me. And one thing I'll touch on, I was horribly impatient, by the way, with my waiting for my degrees. And I almost had about the same thing because my petition was filled out in October. November, they had the stated meetings, installations, and December, nothing, and then I think my first degree was in late January. So.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you, Mike. Let's go next to Juan Sepulveda.
And there, I got my mute button on. So I think it's been a good conversation. I really like hearing some positive things and some encouraging things about what we like in the fraternity and what role it plays in our lives. Part of what I love about what we do here in the Masonic Roundtable and our various projects is that we're taking enough of our time and we're putting a lot of energy into growing ourselves, and in the process share with the hopes of inspiring other people. And it's very gratifying whenever you hear people writing to us, like Jason was saying earlier, and they're expressing, I like what you said about this, and we like your discussion on this topic. And when is the Shriners episode going to come? Whenever you ask us questions like that, it makes it
episode 200.
Hey, there you go. It makes it fulfilling because we're here sitting in our respective alcoves, doing our thing with our microphone, and it's unless we hear from you, right? We don't know what's happening. We don't know, once we say our words, we don't know what impact they have, and we know that there are people out there that are grateful for some of the things that we share. And I am grateful of the fact that some of the things that we say really reach an individual out there somewhere and makes them ponder on their ways, and makes them think about how they're dealing with life and how they're dealing with their family, how they're dealing with society. And I'm very grateful that I'm part of this group that allows us to have that kind of role, allows us to do that. And we are not speaking from a point of perfection. We're speaking from the flawed self that we are. And we recognize that. And it's what gives us the credence. It gives us the credibility that we know what we're talking about, in fact, because we're flawed and we're growing as men. And as we discover these things, we share them with you. So in the spirit of gratitude, I thank you for being a part of the Masonic Roundtable in your way, and for making this experience so fulfilling. So thank you so very much. And my shameless plug, brothers, those of you who are signed up for the Masonic Mystery Box, you're up for a treat this month. Some of the boxes are arriving right now, and you'll start seeing brothers posting pictures of them. So if you don't know what it is, go to thewindingstairs.com and /shop and check out the Masonic Mystery Box, in which I curate a selection of Masonic items that I wish I had when I was starting in Masonry. Now you get them every month. It's a surprise box worth a lot more than what you pay for it. So check it out. Thank you, brothers.
Spoiler alert, this month it's a 25-pound turkey coming to your mailbox.
No spoilers. I'm not gonna say anything.
Mailed library class, by the way.
Media mail.
Here's a sneak peek. Just saying.
That's a nice shirt you're wearing, Juan.
Thank you, senor.
All right, Robert, what say you?
So the opposite, first of all, I guess I'll tackle that. I think the opposite of being thankful, or whatever you want to call that, is just simply not caring, right? I mean, to me, being thankful is being mindful of the fact that something has gone in a direction that you've benefited from, either mindfully or physically, and taking that moment to recognize those things and call them out to yourself, whether that, to your consciousness or whatever that is. And we think about giving that thanks. And the total opposite of that is to go through life as a mindless drone. But then, of course, there's the element it's kind of sidestepped as well, which is not only are you not caring, but you have a lack of a secondary skill, which is that of being insulting. So you don't know how to handle a situation. I use the example with my kids. I say it all the time: is somebody gives you tickets to the World Series, you don't ask where the seats are. You just go. You're not going to sit here and complain like, oh, I got these tickets to the World Series, but yeah, nosebleeds, not cool. Probably not going to go. I'm going to scalp them probably, whatever. And that's just, we all know that guy. We all know somebody like that. We've all experienced our kids at some point who you've bought them something cool and they give you the look. My son Griffin, who's 10 now, has on multiple occasions, I'm like, hey, I got this cool thing for you. And he's like, thanks, Dad. I really like it. And I know he's trying. He's just trying to, he's trying to be grateful. And I say, oh, I can read him. Is this not cool, man? He's like, well, it's okay. You can tell me. We're being honest, right? So even if you're going to be grateful, sometimes there is that element of open communication to allow you to expand your ability to be more grateful almost. So think about that. Be mindful all the time when people are talking to you. There are times as a secretary of a lodge, people come up to me at all hours of the lodge meeting before and after, and they're asking me questions, telling me about stories, and I want to listen so bad. But I know there are times where I'm sure brothers have been like, man, he's not even listening. I'm going to walk away. And I recognize that they walk away. And I try to catch them later in the night and say, hey, what were you saying earlier? I really was interested. I just had to write those checks or whatever it was, you know? So be cognizant. As far as, you know, just some continued thoughts on what I'm thankful for, of course, listeners to this show, these brothers on this show, everybody who has encouraged us along the way, everybody who's written letters. When we've all had an episode where one of us is down or is being kind of a, you know, a D-bag for whatever reason about some topic, and we get like some correspondence or some dude online, sometimes some lady online, they'll write us an email and go, hey, I noticed you were bummed out about this. Don't let this get you down. You guys are making a real impact. And I'm sure you guys get that too out there, the listeners of this program, when you guys are out in your lodges and you have those bummer days and somebody comes to you and says, you make a difference in what you do. Don't let anybody, you know, tell you any different. You know, for me, you know, once a month I have a time where, not once a month, but you get where I'm going with this. Like every few months I get down about the fraternity. Like, you know, things are just, something just irks me and it's bad news. And my wife has to come to me. She's like, hey, chill out, relax, it'll pass. I'm thankful for everybody who
Usually in 3 to 4 days.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm just thankful that people continue to push each other, push us, push these shows. There's a bunch of Masonic podcasts out there now, and I'm just so thankful for all of them who continue to push the education, push the knowledge, push the history. Thankful for books, brothers, friends, happiness, life, kids, and a free and open internet. But what I was gonna say, my plug for the evening is, if you like Masonic podcasts, give a shout out to come on, listen to Whence Came You, Sunday nights 9:30, and we just launched a new web series called Masonic Curators, which will probably be released multiple times during the week. We're gonna try for 5 episodes a week on that, you know, episodes 2 to 5 minutes. And I've got an extensive library of Masonic things that we can talk about in their histories. And when I'm out and about, I'm going to nail brothers to the wall and say, you got to tell me about this ring. You got to tell me about this. Let's do it, you know, and it'll be really cool. And I'm excited about it, to bring that element of Masonry out into the public. And I should thank brother Alex Powers, because I came to him, since I'm dealing with a little bit of history. I said, hey, what do you think about this? And I wanted to make sure he thought it was cool. He gave me the go ahead, and he gave me a final push to say, I really like it. Go do it. So, Alex, thanks for what you do. And with your podcast, Historical Light, it's an inspiration for a lot of us who really get into the history of things. So thanks very much, everybody.
I'm thankful that Robert Johnson never sleeps, so he can do
Yeah.
all of these hustles. So good job. All right, let's go to Jason Richards.
All right. Opposite of gratitude is complete and utter self-absorption and selfishness. When you are grateful and when you have gratitude in your heart, you are fixated on the deeds of others. You are fixated on the blessings of others. And it becomes, of course, it's a lot of it is how the deeds or how the actions of others have impacted you. That comes a lot with gratitude, but it doesn't have to. Your primary focus still is on others, and that ego or that sense of self kind of shrinks into the background. The opposite of that complete and utter selflessness and complete and utter fixation on the actions and deeds and blessings of other is to shut all of those actions, deeds, and things out of your mind and focus solely on yourself, to the detriment and to the exclusion of all others. So really, the opposite of gratitude is just selfishness. Really great episode. I'm really glad that we get the chance to take a break from some of the harder research topics and spend a little bit of time just inviting you all into our own circumspection and reflection. There's so many things that we have to be thankful for, especially as it relates to our own lives in the Masonic fraternity. So as you go into the holiday season, don't lose sight of that. It's a stressful time for everybody. We've got elections, especially in Virginia. There's a lot going on. Holidays seem to have a flourish of activity, and it always ends up being stressful in some way, shape, or form. But try to take some time this season to just reflect on all the good things that Masonry and those who are part of the Masonic fraternity have done for you, and all of the positive impacts that they've made on your life. I think if you spend some time doing that introspection, then I think you're gonna be happier this holiday season. And if you take the time to do that introspection and figure out how others have blessed you, I'm challenging you to take the time to specifically try to bless others this holiday season. Be a reason for someone to be thankful, and be a reason for someone to have gratitude.
Thank you, Jason. Hard to top that one. Let's see. The thoughts that came to mind based on the challenge from Juan. I initially went with apathetic as kind of the opposite of thankfulness. And I thought, well, let's take that even to the furthest extreme, that it's more than apathy. It's exploitation and entitlement. And obviously we want to take good men and make them better by making them humble and appreciative of what they have. And so we have to be careful to guard ourselves against an entitlement culture. And it crosses all generations. It's not just millennials that we think we're entitled to certain things, or we've been entitled because we've had this many years in Masonry. Just years just a number, right? It doesn't mean what you've done lately. And so we want to be careful that we don't exploit the fraternity and take advantage of the fraternity that we have. So that's how I'm thinking of the caution of the opposite of thankfulness and gratefulness. For me, again, I kind of echo what everyone else here has alluded to, in the sense that, thankful for the information age that we have right here, that we can have these conversations virtually from 4 or 5 different states. We can share our thoughts with you. You can share your thoughts with us, and we love every minute of it. So that's been a blessing in our lives. So without the information age, you couldn't have things like net neutrality and its repeal. So let's be thankful that we'll be able to have faster internet speeds because of certain individuals. So Juan provided us with tonight's end quote, something I think we're going to start adding in because it really puts the icing on the cake here. So thank you, Juan. Tonight's end quote comes from Epictetus, a Greek Stoic philosopher, who says, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." Thanks for watching, and keep searching for more light. Have a good night.